watching as Space Shuttle Atlantis is taking off from Edwards Air Force Base in California on its way home to the Kennedy Space Center. Atlanta is flying aboard a modified 747 jet known as the Space Shuttle Carrier aircraft. It will be taking off here from Edwards Air Force Base and headed to Kennedy Space Center, landing there as expected on Tuesday. The cross-country flight will be monitored on the on the mission pages of the www.nasa.gov. If you go to those pages, you can read a live blog that is being updated, along with, if you go across the top of that page on www.nasa.gov, you will see the word collaborate, and you can also monitor the Twitter that NASA will be doing of this cross-country flight. With Atlantis' return to the Kennedy Space Center, it will be the conclusion of the STS-125 mission, the Hubble Space Telescope repair mission. Again, this is the International Space Station Commentary Hour, but we are at this time watching a live feed from Edwards Air Force Base in California. You're watching as Atlantis, the Space Shuttle Atlantis, is mounted atop a modified 747 jet that is ready for takeoff and headed to Kennedy Space Center, Florida. Atlantis, along with her 7 crew, landed at Edwards on May 24th. This is Mission Control Houston, and you're watching as the Space Shuttle Atlantis is ready for takeoff from the Edwards Air Force Base in California. To read more about Atlantis' journey home, you can go to the www.nasa.gov website. You can go to the shuttle pages and click on the shuttle ferry flight blog, along with clicking on the Collaborate website at the top of the www.nasa.gov site, and monitor the activities at NASA's Twitter. You are watching as Space Shuttle Atlantis, mounted atop a modified 747 jet known as the Shuttle Carrier aircraft, is taking off, departing Edwards Air Force Base in California this morning, beginning its journey home to NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The cross-country ferry flight is expected to take a day, and landing in Kennedy Space Center on Tuesday. This is Space Shuttle Atlantis headed home to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, completing its STS-125 mission to service the Hubble Space Telescope. Atlantis, of course, landed at Edwards Air Force Base on May 24th. NASA's 747 Space Shuttle carrier aircraft has successfully taken off from Edwards Air Force Base in California. It is headed to Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Atlantis has doing its final leg of its STS-125 mission. That mission was to service the Hubble Space Telescope. Atlantis landed at Edwards on May 24th, completing a 13-day journey of approximately 5.3 million miles in space. This is Mission Control Houston reporting now on the Atlantis liftoff from from Edwards Air Force Base, headed to Kennedy Space Center. That liftoff, of course, took place on top of a modified 747 jet. Again, you have a bird's eye view of Atlantis as it is atop a modified 747 jet known as the Shuttle Carrier aircraft. Atlantis has departed Edwards Air Force Base this morning. Edwards Air Force Base in California. It is beginning its journey home to NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can go to www.nasa.gov. You can go to the shuttle pages, and you can look to the right side of that page and see Atlantis' journey home and read the blog about the shuttle's ferry flight. If you'd like to get a live Twitter feed, you can go to collaborate at www.nasa.gov. We'll now rejoin the folks here at the flight control room at the NASA's Johnson Space Center.